Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study in the book of Hebrews. We're still in Hebrews chapter 11. Today we're looking at verses 30 and 31. Now these two verses, the author of Hebrews begins to talk to us about the conquest of the promised land. This would occur under Joshua. You remember after the Exodus, after the deliverance from Egypt, the Israelites would spend 40 years in the wilderness. Moses dies. Joshua becomes the leader of Israel. And it is he who takes them across the Jordan River to begin possession of the promised land. Now, in the first several chapters of the book of Joshua, specifically chapters 2 through 6, it tells us how the Israelites first took the city of Jericho. Now, Jericho is in the middle of the land, and Jericho is a walled, well-fortified city. Difficult to take it from an opposing army. The Israelites didn't have time to besiege the city. In ancient times, you would lay siege to a walled city. It could take years to take a city that had high walls and that was well fortified. The Israelites could not wait for that. How could they take the city of Jericho quickly? And they had to take it before they really could begin the conquest of the rest of the promised land. It came about by faith, by the miraculous provision of God that they had to believe for. You remember, the walls of Jericho are going to fall. And so the author of Hebrews talks about that in verses 30 and 31. Notice what it says. By faith, the walls of Jericho fell after the army had marched around them for 7 days. By faith, the prostitute Rahab, because she welcomed the spies, she was not killed with those who were disobedient. Two demonstrations of faith are shown in the taking of Jericho, as the author of Hebrews tells us. First, the falling of the walls. Now, God had given the Israelites an unusual battle plan for taking Jericho. He said, march around the city. Just walk around the city. Do it for 7 straight days. And on the 7th day, after you walk around the city, blow the trumpets and shout victory. Now, in worldly wisdom, they must have thought, what good would that do? Jericho has high walls. They have strong walls. They are well fortified. What good is it going to do just to walk around the walls, to walk around the city? What good is it going to do to blow the trumpets? What good is it going to do just to shout out victory? Militarily, they couldn't understand how that would help them take the city, but they believed God. God had said, do it. This is the path to victory. By faith, they did what God had said. And on that 7th day, when they blew the trumpets, shouted out, the walls fell. God gave them Jericho because they believed in his word and followed his word. Militarily, in worldly wisdom, you could not possibly imagine how this strategy would work. But they trusted in what God had told them. And the walls fell. The walls collapsed when they acted in faith. And everyone in Jericho perished, except Rahab. Now remember, before the siege began, Joshua had sent 2 spies into Jericho to kind of look over the land. They had stayed in the home of Rahab. The authorities heard about it. They came to apprehend them. Rahab hid the spies and then got them out of the city. But she made them give a promise. When you take the city, spare my family because I've helped you. Now the question is, why did Rahab help them? Rahab was a Canaanite. She was of the city of Jericho. Why was she helping the Hebrews? Because she believed in God. It says by faith, Rahab welcomed the spies. In faith, she protected them. You see, Rahab had heard stories, and she had come to realize that the God of the Hebrews, he was truly God. Now, she was not Hebrew, nor was she of the faith of the Hebrews, but she had heard about what God had done for them. She knew that their God was God, and so she placed her trust in he who is truly God. And by faith, she protected the spies, and thus by faith, she was delivered. Alone, out of all the residents of Jericho, she was delivered, and she became part of the nation of Israel. She joined the community of faith, all by faith. So we see these two wonderful examples. Rahab believing in the God of the Hebrews, This God is truly God. And the Hebrew people, believing that God would deliver them with a miracle. If they just did what he said, just march around the city, he would cause the walls to collapse. And he did. And they took the city. We're called to be people of faith, to believe God. He alone is God. Trust in him. And even when he asks us to do things we don't understand, like walk around the city, we can trust God. By faith, God gives us the victory. Hope you join us tomorrow as we continue looking at Hebrews chapter 11 in our 5-minute Bible study in the book of Hebrews.